welcome to Scrollin' episode 112. I'm Ket. Joining me, as always, Davius Starjumper. What's going on, man?
Not much. Happy to be here. I got a new setup. You can't see it. You can't see this new setup.
No, I cannot.
But I got a new setup. I just need you to know. I got a little new setup. It's a little more slim, a little more sleek.
Like you got a new computer, or
no, not nearly that exciting.
Okay.
Well, now we're downhill. Really, I just
whatever you say now.
Yeah, all I did is I moved my monitors around and got a new mat for my keyboard and mouse.
Okay.
So a little bit of a downgrade from the new computer. You really hit me with the tip top there, you know. I said I went on a hike and you just asked if I climbed Everest. That's really what just happened.
Hey, I was just trying to have a conversation, you know. I don't know. Hey, rearrange. I love rearranging, dude. I rearrange my house like once a month. Not even kidding. I'm just like, I don't like this couch here anymore. I'm going to put it over there now.
Yeah. A nice little, just a reset up. Really what I like is that I have this mat that I'm talking about. It's one of those, it's like the keyboard. It's so big, it like holds your keyboard and it's like a mouse pad combined.
Yeah, I have one of those. It like covers a pretty big portion of my desk. Yeah, love it.
Love it. That started the new setup. Got that, moved the displays around. But new computer next. That's the next item on the list. It just didn't quite get to the full list.
Do you have like a pad for your like a palm rest kind of thing?
I don't have that.
Good thing to have.
A little arthritis protector there.
Just to put it like the bottom of your keyboard, just to rest your wrist on. Man, it's nice. It's really nice.
A totally different subject. But do you ever just sit and think like we're getting old?
That's all that I think about these days, dude. I'm not even kidding. It's like anytime my mind isn't like focused on a task, it just defaults back to you're gonna die someday.
Just you're not even hitting like the good old days, huh? No, you're just like, oh no, death's door is
mortal
upon
coil.
me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Sure.
Hey, check in on your 40th birthday. Let me know how you feel. I'm telling you, it was like a light switch, dude. Like I just woke up on my 40th birthday, like wow, mortality, holy crap.
Things are different. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to get there.
Just kind of hit me. 30 was no big deal to me. I was all like, I threw a party for 30. I was like, yeah, I'm 30.
I did a party for 30. Definitely did that. Yeah, you feel like it's like you're, I'm
a real adult now, like for real.
Yeah, now I'm an old person, and then I'm in. I I feel like everybody in the Discord has no idea what my age is because I really just make fun of it. But 30, 36, so like 40's just around the corner.
It's coming, buddy.
Waiting for me.
And then guess what? 50's right around the corner. I mean,
listen,
and then it just keeps going.
we gotta back you off this cliff, Cat. We gotta take a couple steps back.
There's no escape. You're trapped now.
Oh man!
Welcome to Scrollin'.
Death
is right around the corner.
Play ESO while you still can.
That's why I'm squeezing in as many BGs as I can right now.
Why you have the time.
Okay, so public test server. We are in the 4th week of public test server for the update 40 patch for the Endless Archive thing that's coming up. This is coming out on October 30th for PC, so I think that's like exactly 3 weeks from yesterday, Monday.
Okay.
And then it'll be 2 weeks later for consoles, of course. Unusually for week 3, there really was basically nothing in the patch notes really worth discussing. They kind of seemed like they needed an extra week or so to work on that stuff, and maybe even more than that by the sounds of things in their known issues section. Seems like there's probably going to be some stuff in a week 5 patch notes as well.
Yep.
But yeah, week 4 is kind of the only stuff really worth talking about right now, and really they only really adjusted a couple of the new class sets. Notably, Nobility in Decay, the new Necromancer set that we were really trash talking on the last episode.
We were really giving it a hard time.
Let's see if it's any better. So it no longer grants minor resolve and the minor protection. Instead, in their place, it gives this new unique Death's Favor buff. And what that does is it increases your healing taken and reduces your damage taken by up to 12% based on your missing health. So it's like an anti-execute. It's like a miniature version of the stage 3 vampire undeath passive, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely better. Way, way better than the minor resolve, minor protection.
That addition is better than the entirety of the set. Like that's the new best part of this set. Like that's the key, is that new Death's Favor piece.
Oh yeah. It does still grant the beautiful corpse thing, and that's kind of a neat thing, but you know, I was thinking about this. That beautiful corpse thing is just kind of a neat extra thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not very good as like the main thing of the set. But if the set's already doing an awesome thing plus the self corpse thing, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In that case,
the corpse it's a nice little extra, but the entire set can't depend on the extra corpse. That's not near enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's with that Death's Favor, and then you still get the extra corpse. Like I think this is usable. I actually.
Seems very good, actually.
Yeah, I would say that this is a great way for Necros to maybe make a little bit of a comeback, just as coming in as really tanky classes. So I think this is going to be pretty popular if it stays this way.
KDMS, welcome to the chat. GrizzlyCon says this set with Vampire and Pariah. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Then just the I hadn't thought of Pariah, but definitely I think most. The handful of necromancers that are out there probably are a stage 3 vampire. And so if they use that with this set, and then Pariah, man.
Yeah.
That seems at the very least usable, and actually seems pretty darn good. I bet some necromancers will use it.
Yeah. And just stacking that with the vamp is, that's a pretty tanky, even if you go full out damage on a necro with this and that, the vamp and death passive, like
that's up to a 40% damage reduction, basically, as you lose health if you add them together.
Yeah. And I think that healing taken, an additional 12% healing taken, I think that's going to be, I think that's going to stand out. Don't forget about
the healing taken.
Yeah. I think that's going to stand out quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I wasn't even really factoring the healing taken into it, but yeah, that kind of doubles up on how good it is. It's actually a really good set.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think it's very usable.
So, hey, Necro's they tossed him a little bit of a bone there. That's all right. That's good.
They got a little something cooking.
And then the Nightblade set called Soul Cleaver. They've changed this one as well. So it no longer does the damage scaling based on how much ultimate you have. They've scrapped that idea entirely. So now it increases the damage and healing of your siphoning abilities by 18% all the time. And it reduces the cost of those abilities by 18% all the time. And it consumes one ultimate every time you cast a siphoning ability. That's what it does now. So there's no based on how much ultimate you have or whatever. It always consumes one ultimate. It always gives you the 18% buff, and it always gives you the 18% cost reduction, as long as it's equipped. Notably, it does apply to the ultimate now. So you get the increased damage and the cost reduction to Soul Tether. It's a really good ultimate already. So the dev said that the feedback was saying that the set was overly complicated to use, and they wanted to make it easier to use but with less power potential. And certainly I think they have accomplished that. I feel like I've seen some people say this on the forums and stuff, and I think I agree that it makes the set seem awfully plain. Now, there's really, you're just equipping this thing and getting this massive benefit. You're not really doing anything to gain that benefit. But nevertheless, it seems extremely good.
Seems extremely good. The part to me is it's like, I get that they probably don't want to get away from like the original idea of the set, but the ultimate seems almost like, why is the ultimate even attached to it anymore? Like the one ultimate cost, like, why is that still even a part of this anymore? Like, it seems like it's so minute compared to what is actually happening. I guess that, it's still kind of sticking to their original theme, but like one ultimate when you cast an ability is like,
that's going to be nothing at all. So first of all,
non-existent.
Your your base ultimate regeneration will outpace that easily. So you're never actually going to see your ultimate meter go down.
Mhm.
It's just going to go up slightly more slowly. But even considering that, you have your base ultimate regeneration, you get ultimate when you drink a potion. There's, probably healers and stuff giving you minor heroism. Every time you kill someone, you get ultimate. And your soul tether costs 18% less.
Yeah. That's
So
a good trade-off.
so even if you're casting, Swallow Soul every single global cooldown, you're probably getting to that ultimate faster than you would with a different set equipped. Not to mention the fact that you only drain one ultimate when you cast a siphoning ability. You're going to be casting all kinds of stuff that's not a siphoning ability. So it's not like you're draining one ultimate a second all the time. So I mean, you're actually going to be spamming that soul tether like crazy in reality.
Yeah. I mean, it still seems really good, but I don't know. It seems like the ultimate is almost like unnecessary now, or at least the ultimate drain. At least it's something to try to balance it out, but it's just so minute.
I almost think it should maybe even be more ultimate drain now, honestly.
To me, it would make sense if it was like 3 ultimate every time you cast a siphoning ability or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the math on that, but it just, 1 ultimate every ability just seems so just not even worth worrying about. Like, you're not even going to think twice about that.
Yeah, I kind of liked the original idea that the set kind of incentivized you not to use your ultimate. You kind of got rewarded for not using it, and I thought that was kind of build it up. Idea.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, this will be an extremely strong set. 18% cost reduction just the ultimate alone makes it worth it, I think. Plus, every single skill in that siphoning skill line is very good. So getting 18% increased potency and cost reduction to all of that stuff, that one ultimate every time you cast one of those abilities is not even a penalty. It's nothing.
I mean, just to put that in perspective, 18% damage increase. That's what's Malakath at now?
It's 16.
Yeah. So you've got something better than Malakath. Like, if it was just that, it would still be really good. Yeah. You can crit on it. It's 18%. Just that would be amazing. But the fact that it's also taking an 18% cost reduction, just, whew, that seems very, very good. And applying to your ult. I mean, there's 5-piece sets out there that the 5-piece is just 15% reduction to your ult. Like, this is better than that, Like, it seems this is very, very good set.
Extremely good. And my Nightblade that I play with, Catface Johnson, his bar setup, he already uses most of the siphoning skill line, so he doesn't even need to change his build other than just equip this set.
Yep,
and
get this set on there.
He's off to the races. I'm definitely doing that. I'm definitely going to give it a try, at least if it stays like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be really good. I kind of wish they had stuck with the original idea and maybe just kind of worked with that a little bit, but this is still good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even if they lowered the overall damage, it would have been nice if it still was something that you kind of had to build up to get peak value. The flat 18% seems like very, very easy. It is definitely simplified, very easy to use, but very great rewards for how easy it is to use.
Yeah. So those are the only 2 that actually really got adjusted. The Necro set and the Nightblade set. They did mention the Templar set and the Warden set. They have some ideas for how they're going to rework those and make them better. And they kind of gave some details on what their plans were in the notes, but they haven't actually implemented those things yet. So I thought, let's wait until they actually do it, because who knows how much it'll change by then. So just keep in mind the Templar set and the Warden set. Some changes are coming on that. We'll probably be talking about that on the next episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They also did mention the Dragon Knight set. I was already planning to kind of circle around to this set and talk about it again today, because it's been brought to my attention that it has a certain functionality that I didn't realize, but based on these notes, it seems like maybe it's not intended. But that functionality is, if you have this as a single bar set, so like maybe you have it only on the front bar, so you activate it, you get that major heroism, and then when you flip to your back bar, you keep the major heroism. It doesn't change to the 12% healing stance. And vice versa. If you have it as a back bar set, then that's the buff you'll keep, and it's just permanent. And it seems like that's not intended. There's a dev comment. This set does not currently interact properly with bar swapping, while the set is only active on one bar in some cases. So just keep that in mind. If you've been hearing people talk about this set, that's probably going to be fixed. But it does make me realize like it's still single barrable. Like you can make this your back bar set and it'll get activated and then you're getting that stance. It'll change when you bar swap, but it's still the set's staying active. You know?
Yeah. Really adds a whole new level of viability. I mean, it makes it a great front bar set. It also is a great back bar, like a defensive healing. I mean, it's a great defensive back bar set.
Yeah, I liked when I thought that was intended behaviors. Like, wow, you can use it like 3 different ways. You know, you can have permanent heroism or the permanent healing buff, or you can have both when you bar swap. But that's not going to be the case. It's always going to change stances when you bar swap. So really, the only time you'd have a permanent buff is if you use it on a 1-bar Oaken Soul build.
Yeah.
In that case, you'd have the permanent major heroism. I want to talk about this topic that I see come up from time to time, and it's come up recently on the official forums. Is what made me think about talking about it here today. The question is skill required in PvP, or is it really just mostly about the build? And if you have a meta build, you win, and that's kind of it. So, you'll probably get different answers from different people, but I think what most people probably will tell you is that both of those things are true. Yes, skill is required, and also, yes, your build very much matters. And the analogy I've used here on the show before is American football, that with the shoulder pads and the helmet and all that stuff. If you try to play football and you don't have that gear on, you're just wearing a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, then you're just going to get sent to the hospital, right? But at the same time, if you put that gear on, but you've never played football before, putting that gear on doesn't make you a football player. So you're still going to get sent to the hospital, right? Either way.
Yeah, either way.
So you got to have both. You got to have the proper gear, and you need to know how to play football. It's a perfect analogy to PvP and ESO because both of those things are true. The skill absolutely matters. I can tell you as someone who it's taken a few years for me to feel like I'm fairly competent at PvP. So certainly I've gained some skill there, but the build also very much does matter too.
Really, I think what skews people a little bit is that, you have really, really skilled players that as their skill increases and as they play more, their skill goes up. And so they get into, higher MMR, or they start seeing recognized names. And so they kind of have to go to next level. And so that's why you see a lot of the really higher skilled players in the game are playing with a lot of the meta type builds. And that's because they have grown accustomed to playing against each other. And that's kind of and so they kind of go hand in hand. I think that to me is really what's kind of skewed. Like, is it just these sets and skill doesn't matter? It absolutely matters. It's just these really skilled players, when they're competing with each other, they're utilizing the meta build set so that they can continue to be competitive with each other.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so if you have, one person with like, a quote unquote meta build versus another person with an exact identical build, which happens a lot, absolutely skill is going to be a factor there. One of them has to win, one of them has to lose. And it's probably the one with the more skill that's going to win there. But then the question I think then becomes, okay, well, is it necessary to have a meta build, or can I make some kind of creative, unique thing of my own and make that work? The answer to that is, of course, a meta build is not required, but it certainly will make things easier for you if you don't have a lot of experience, especially. But absolutely not required. There's a cornucopia of build options out there that are all viable. But you do need to make sure you are meeting certain baselines, and there are certain kind of aspects of your build that I think are not optional, and they're aspects of the meta for a reason. And I think sometimes you just kind of have to accept those things and lean into them and go with it in order to keep having fun with everybody else. So we're going to be talking about making your own off-meta build, like theory crafting your own build, but making a build that works, so that whatever creative decisions you make, that you're building that on top of a rock-solid foundation. At the very least, it's going to be a functional build. So I think first of all, we need to define like what we're talking about when we say a meta build. Like, what does that mean? It changes all the time. Right now, what that means is having a lot of health, like 40k health or more.
All the health.
Yeah, as much health as you can get. And then stacking a handful of specific proc sets that the community has kind of latched onto as being like the very best ones. So Draugr and Reliquin is a very popular combo. Master's Dual Wield, Vatishran Ice Staff, Marsalok, Way of Fire, or Dragon's Appetite, another good one. Mm-hmm. There's a few others, but it's basically high health and a handful of specific, really powerful proc sets. That's basically what a meta build is, by our definition anyway. So when we talk about making an off-meta build, we're basically just saying not that.
Not using those.
Yeah. So let's talk about this build foundation before we ever really start making creative decisions about what the build even is. Like, is it a roly-poly? Is it a slow tank? Does it use a bow? Does it use a sword and shield? Whatever. We're not touching any of those things. We're going to start way, way, way before any of that even comes into the picture. What we're going to do is we're going to go around and just snatch up all the very juiciest build investments that offer the most value, so that when we do start making those creative decisions, we already know that we're pretty well covered already on the stat sheet, and we have a lot of wiggle room to make those decisions and try different things. So, step number 1 for building your foundation. It might seem weird if you're old school like Davius and me, but 64 points into health, baby. Just do it. Don't think twice about it. Just put all those attribute points into health. Back in our day, you just put the bare minimum number of points into health because, hey, that's damage, baby, right?
Yeah.
You're missing out on that damage.
Even I would say back in the day, it was like if you're a stam build, you go all stam, or you, like you said, a couple points for health, but it was very common just to go all stam or all mag.
You just kind of wanted to bump it up to that bare minimum amount of health that you can kind of survive a gank with, and then everything else into your primary stat to crank that damage. But the prevailing wisdom these days is that that's actually not a very potent damage investment, but it is an extremely potent defensive investment. And you can conduct this experiment yourself and see for yourself. If you put 64 points into your primary stat and take a look at your ability tooltips, and then pull those points out of your primary stat, put them in health instead, take another look at those tooltips, they've gone down, but only a little bit, right? You really actually haven't lost all that much damage, but you've gained such a massive defensive benefit having, you'll probably end up in the ballpark of like 40k health or so. So you're effectively gank proof. You're effectively bomb proof. If someone gets lucky and gets several crits in a row on you, you take a bunch of damage, you have this massive buffer to kind of process what's happening and make a decision and recover from that. It's such a huge benefit and such a minimal damage loss that it's just the way to go these days.
Yep.
Garen says 1k free weapon damage plus 4k free mag and stam and 3k free HP from CP rework made this possible. Oh yeah, with the Flames of Ambition patch with the base stats and all that stuff. I remember that. Yeah, it's a different game ever since then. Absolutely. And the base crit resistance that we get now as well was a kind of a game changer.
Yeah, that kind of killed Impin.
So the point is when it comes to attribute points, there's just such a massive defensive benefit to putting all of those into health, and a pretty minimal offensive benefit for putting those into anything else. And there's other investment opportunities that we'll get to shortly where we'll get a bunch of damage. So we're going to save that investment for then. So step 1, put all those points into health. Just do it. When it comes to Mundus Stone, you want to use a Sustain Mundus, either the Serpent or the Atronach. They're by far the most potent Mundus Stones of all. You need Sustain in your build, and this is a very good source of it. And the other Munduses mathematically just don't add up. So it's just kind of a no-brainer there. Go for a Sustain Mundus. For your jewelry, 3 Bloodthirsty. Every single time, 3 Bloodthirsty.
Always.
Yeah. If it's a build that's trying to get kills, just do the 3 Bloodthirsty. Most people out there are a stage 3 vampire, so they take less and less damage as they lose health. They also tend to play more defensively and block and heal and all that stuff as they lose health. So getting through that last third of that health bar is pretty darn tough. 3 Bloodthirsty makes it quite a bit easier. It's so much damage, in fact, that even if you're not wearing any damage sets at all, you could wear like a sustain set, a defensive set, and 3 Bloodthirsty. And that's a pretty well-rounded build right there. You know, you actually will have enough damage to kill a lot of people in that case.
Yeah.
So every build, if it's offensive, Bloodthirsty every time. On a related note, stage 3 vampire, possibly. I'm not going to say it's required, but it's a very, very good defensive investment for that undeath passive. But it comes with a pretty heavy sustain penalty. Yeah. And that's just a decision for you to make. For me, it's some tunes I do it, some tunes I don't.
Yep.
You know? So it goes either way. But definitely something worth considering, and you make that decision for yourself. Take a look at it. At least try it.
Absolutely. It's definitely more, there's a reason it's more common than not out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No matter what your build is, you want your max stamina to be at least 18k. Might get a slightly different number from different people, but for me, I'm thinking 18k bare minimum. That way you're not going to get, stammed out and locked down and die. 3 or 4 of your skill slots are spoken for. Go ahead and slot your class armor buff, resolving vigor, a burst heal, or a damage shield, like if you're a Sork, and probably Camo Hunter on the front bar. Not necessarily required, but strongly recommended. You need a major crit buff source. This is a very good one. It gives you that. It also gives you minor berserk. It gives you extra weapon damage. It gives you extra ultimate when you kill players. It does all of those things without you ever even pushing the button. Plus, when you do push the button, it reveals invisible people, which there are a lot of these days.
There's a lot of invisible people out there.
You need anti-stealth too, so it gives you that. It just gives you like a bazillion things. I would say just go ahead and put Camo Hunter on the front bar, slot your class armor buff, resolving vigor, a burst heal. You got a pretty good start to your bar setup there. If it's Oaken Soul, if it's a 1-bar build, then I think vigor and a burst heal are the only 2 that are kind of spoken for there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can afford it, if your build allows for it, try to use tri-stat potions. If you have good sustain of both resources, it's just going to make life a lot easier. You can spam heals more, you can dodge more, all that kind of stuff. For food, I only use 2 different foods. Depending on the build, I either use Bewitched Sugar Skulls or I use the Jewels of Misrule. If I need max stats, I go Sugar Skulls. If I need sustain, I go Jewels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no matter what your build, do one of those 2, I would say. They're very potent foods, and they're not outrageously expensive like some of the others out there. Very, very good foods. For your armor traits, if your build allows for it, do a reinforced heavy chest piece. Everything else should either be well-fitted or sturdy. Maybe divines, but in my opinion, well-fitted or sturdy are the best 2 traits. And reinforced is only worth using if it's a heavy chest piece.
Yeah.
It's not worth using on anything else. If it's a medium chest piece, do well-fitted. If it's a heavy pair of legs, well-fitted, And don't really mix and match. Besides that heavy reinforced chest piece, do 6 well-fitted or 6 sturdy or 6 divines. Don't really mix and match, because you really get a ton of value if you just kind of go all in on whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you just need your basic buff coverage. So that's your major minor resolve, major damage buff, major crit buff. I think major expedition is required, and your major sustain buff, which you generally get from a potion. And that's your foundation. I know that's a lot. Let me just kind of run it down one more time really quickly. 64 points into health, sustain Mundus, bloodthirsty jewelry, maybe stage 3 vampire, 18k minimum stamina. You got those 4 skill slots that are spoken for with your armor buff, resolving vigor, a burst heal, and Camo Hunter. Tri-stat potions if you can. Use either a Sugar Skulls or the Jewels of Misrule for your food. A reinforced heavy chest piece if your build allows for it. Everything else either well-fitted or sturdy, maybe divines. and then just make sure you have that basic buff coverage. And that's it.
Yep.
That's your foundation. Now you get to decide, what gear do you want to use? What weights is that gear going to be? What are your weapons going to be? What kind of build is this going to be? And really, no matter what you choose, if it's on this foundation here, it's at least going to be functional at bare minimum.
Yeah. And that's even like, however you want to do damage. If you want to go dot build, if you want to go proc sets, if you want to go, single target or AoE, like as long as you have this build, this foundation, you kind of can figure out the theme or the direction you want to go, and you should be in a competitive state.
Yeah. Here's a con's asking how much pen is the goal. I don't think that's kind of beyond the scope of this discussion right here. I think the answer to that is it depends on your build, and it's not really just like an easy this much pen, but I would say a major and minor breach. Most people try to at least get those two into their build, which is like 9 to 10K penetration. So probably around their minimum, I would say, for pen.
Garion makes a great point. Race, absolutely Nord. Just, sometimes I forget to even mention it because it's really the only direction to go.
Yeah. I thought I'd just throw out an example, kind of bread and butter build that you can throw on anything and it's going to perform incredibly well. Wretched Vitality back bar, Rallying Cry front bar, Death Dealer's Fet Mythic, and a 2-piece monster of your choice. If you equip that gear there, check all those boxes that we just now listed, stick that on any class, any role, if it's a bow build or a dizzy swinger or whatever, it's going to perform phenomenally.
Yeah.
That's actually basically the meta healer build these days, gear-wise. But it doesn't have to be a healer. You can put that really on anything, and it can be a damage dealer or whatever you want it to be, and it's going to perform extremely well.
Yeah, but I think that's a key piece to point out is kind of what we just talked about. Like, that's kind of your base foundation. Even if you want to do a support build, like get that base foundation and then go support. Like you're still going to be competitive. Healer, damage, AoE, anything like that. Just kind of get that base foundation covered. And then you can kind of be set from there.
Player versus player, PvP. We've been doing it. A lot of BGs as usual. First things first, I got to give a massive shout out to Miracle. Phenomenal player on the PCNA server. 9.9 million damage.
9.9.
In a battleground, 9.9 million damage. Now, if we go off of combat metrics, it's over 10
It was
million.
over 10. That's true. We saw the screenshot.
We'll acknowledge that, but...
blame the Arcanist shield. Blame that Arcanist shield.
Yeah. But, a while back in the Discord, I said, hey, if someone can hit 10 million damage in a battleground, I'll give you 10 million gold. He posted 9.9, which is so close.
It's close.
And then Sam chimed in. He's like, oh, I can beat that. And so a little while later, Sam posted a scoreboard where he got 15.3 million damage. However, 15.3 million damage. However, giant asterisk. There was collusion.
There
involved,
seemed to be some collusion involved.
Sam got some friends that were on enemy teams that were kind of helping Sam achieve that. But hey, I actually did say, I'm on record as saying cheating is allowed. However you can do it, do it. So that's fine. Miracle, since he was 9.9, not 10, I went ahead and gave him 5 mil because, come on, I mean, it's right there.
9.9 is a ridiculous amount of damage.
And he did it the au natural way, right? Just fighting people like normal. So shout out to both of those guys, though. I mean, even with collusion, 15.3, I mean, I don't care if collusion or not. That's outrageous, dude.
Ridiculous.
The only other thing I have to really say about PvP in general is, man, the Nightblades sure are out there. If you don't have anti-stealth in your build, you are not having a good time right now, man. They are everywhere. They're powerful. They're nasty. I've actually been swapping out Camo Hunter for Radiant Mage Light on a lot of builds just because it has such a wider radius to reveal Nightblades. And I've really been enjoying just denying them that stealth.
Nice. Nightblade, and they're only going to be increasing. I feel like that number's not going down; it's going up.
Well, that's the thing about Nightblades, right? It's a type of playstyle that a lot of people are just gravitated to anyway. So you make them even just a little bit good, and they're just going to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah, we're going to see some Nightblade bombers coming up with this new patch.
Davis, you've been playing with a very interesting build that I've been wanting to hear about. I've seen it in action firsthand. It's weird and
it's just
actually incredibly effective, really fun to watch. You're Necromancer, the Never-Ending Nord.
The Never-Ending Nord. He's been on the shelf for a while, pulled him off. The goal with this build has been, how do we make that name worth it? How can we live up to that name, the Never-Ending Nord? And I feel like we've gotten there. I feel like we got there. The build is 5-piece Crimson Twilight, 2-piece Lady Thorn, 1-piece Druid's Braid, 1-piece Trainee, Oaken Soul Ring, and the Endurance Ice Staff. All the health that you can possibly find. The idea of the build, just kind of going with that name on the theme, is just stack as much health as I possibly can. Try to get to the Bone Goliath form and just let that AoE just start applying a crazy amount of pressure. The Goliath form pressure, along with the Crimson Twilight proccing that scales off your max health. Lady Thorn, I got to give shout out Uncle Sam. He was the one that actually put me on this one. I don't know if everybody remembers this one. Basically, what this ability is that when you cast an ability that costs health, you spawn this blood ball for 10 seconds, and it basically creates a synergy that you can use. Other players can use it as well. And it basically is just this AoE explosion that is based off your max health, and it's an AoE high damage, and it also applies Major Maim to everybody it hits for 8 seconds. And so basically it's just a whole lot of health feeding Crimson Twilight, Lady Thorn, both scale off max health, that Bone Goliath, or the Ravenous Goliath, I'm sorry, AoE, going off that max health. And so it's just really a whole lot of pressure with those kind of going off and keeping those up, while at the same time it's a support build. And so it does pretty good heals. The Blood Altar is actually what I use to proc the Lady Thorn. And I actually use the Overflowing Altar, which costs more health, but it's a higher team heal.
Thing to save my butt a lot of times.
Works fantastic. It is a huge heal. The amount of healing numbers that ability alone does is fantastic. And so kind of what the bar is it's that Blood Altar, and then I use Renewing Undeath. That's that AoE heal from the Necro, but it also is a cleanse. It removes 3 negative effects, which is pretty huge right now, so that's a really good one. I use the Spirit Guardian, so it's doing its own heals. Plus, it's that 10% damage reduction, or it absorbs 10% of your damage.
And it gives you extra sustain while it's active as well.
Extra sustain. Obviously, the Ravenous Goliath for the ult. And then I do Necrotic Potency, which is another self-heal. And it also, the major part to that is just getting more and more ult.
Gives you a ton of ultimate. So
much ult. So getting that ult, that ability is a whole lot. The Oaken Soul Ring, being a Nord. Because really what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to be in that Ravenous Goliath form as much as you possibly can. It's an amazing amount of pressure. And then I actually do the Hungry Scythe ability. That's actually the spammable. Not a whole lot of damage, but it is an AoE. But the key to that one is it actually has a heal attached to it that scales off your max health. So almost every ability on this build, and the sets included, scale off that max health. So it's just stack that max health as high as you possibly can, and then kind of utilize all these abilities that scale off that. It has created an incredibly fun build.
Surprisingly effective with like a health-based thing. Like, I mean, we did a duo with that and my Necro Despair, and man, we were having a blast, dude. And I was watching you just like straight up face roll a team of people, a team of good players, like players that we know are very good, and you were just kind of chilling over there, like not really even struggling.
Because that's the thing. So just to kind of explain it, like there's a lot of pressure with it, but there's so much return health that comes back from it. So like I'll give you some pretty crazy tooltips. This is in the the Ravenous Goliath form. So when it's in the Goliath form, it has 90,000 health. It's 90,100 health. That cranks that Crimson Twilight proc up to 12,000. It's a 12,000 hit, and you heal 100% of the damage done from that. And that's happening every 8 seconds. That's proccing. So nice. That's very nice. You were saying it feels weird to be equipping Crimson Twilight now, but we used to hate that set back in the day. And I made the joke that now that nobody uses it is the perfect time for me to swoop in. Now is the time. Acceptable. Now is it acceptable? But yeah, 100% of the heal back. The tooltip on that Hungry Scythe ability, 14,607 health for the first enemy hit, an additional 5,000 for each additional enemy, up to 5 additional enemies. So, you're like up in the middle of it, just spamming that thing on everybody. Yep. You also get a hot for 6,000 every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. So, the heal of that ability is ridiculous, and so that actually kind of works as you're staying close, you're keeping that pressure. So you're kind of throwing that out there as an AOE but it is a huge health back. You've got the Spirit Guardian up. You've got the Altar, which is throwing the minor lifesteal on enemies. It works really well. The AOE pressure is surprisingly really high without you really having to focus on it. And it does really good support healing numbers as well. Kind of it's not a high kill build, but it is kind of that high pressure. Kind of the key point to it where it's really going to get kind of the highest pressure is when you're in that Goliath form. The Crimson Twilight, like I said, it's got that 12,000 tooltip. The Ravenous Goliath is doing 5,500 damage every second to everybody around, as well as that Lady Thorn proc when you're in that Goliath form. That's actually an 18,000 damage proc. So pretty good numbers. That Lady Thorn is just the sweet spot. 18,000 damage proc plus applying major maim to everybody around. It's a whole lot of fun build. I mean, it is the fact that it actually works. I was doubting this thing the whole time as I was putting it together. But like you said, the damage is no joke. I mean, your damage is like 1 million or so most of the time in most of the matches I was seeing. Yes, it is. It does very much over 1 million. I would say kind of the goal of this build is kind of 1 million damage, 1 million heals. I haven't done that every time, obviously, but that's kind of where it gets to. If you count the Spirit Bender, it pretty commonly gets 1 million damage, 1 million heals. But it's so much fun. It is extremely tanky, extremely hard to take down. Very much my play style. When I'm playing with, when we're grouping up and doing duos or group BGs, you just kind of run in and face tank with this build while you're the support. Just go in, take the damage for your team. And then when you switch to that Goliath form, you just kind of switch the pressure. You're not going to get the kill, but all of that pressure on the other team just passively from doing this while you're trying to keep heals up is extremely helpful for your team where they can kind of finish them off and get the kills. And you can see at the end of a match, the numbers are there. It's just one of my favorite builds. I mean, truly. It's one of those builds, it's like you wouldn't expect those numbers. Like you talk about the build, you tell people like what the sets are and what the abilities you're using, and then you see those numbers and like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It's a perfect Davius build, honestly. Oh, yeah. That's what I was just about to say. It is my dream build. It is a whole bunch of sets and nobody uses. It shouldn't work. It's completely wacky. But going into some BGs with good players, like I will say, this thing is pretty well tested. It's proven itself. Yeah, and it is performed. It's done well in those. And so just to see it actually holding up and performing is pretty exciting to see it work. Grizzly Khan's asking, what glyphs, what Mundus. It's all health, Grizz. It is all health, baby. All on the health. Every single armor has a health glyph. The Mundus is actually the Lord Mundus, which just gives you health. and the armor traits are all divines to just boost that health Mundus. Like I said, in the Goliath form, it's at 90,000 health. If you're lucky enough to get a warden on your team, it goes over 100,000 health, and the tooltips get even crazier.
I wonder if infused chest legs head would give you more health than the divines.
I looked at it. The divines was the way to go. The infused,
okay.
Infused, I've kind of been disappointed in. Plugging in the build editor, infused is really. I used to be a big infused guy on kind of the helm, chest, legs. It is not very many. It is not very much max stats. It is. I've kind of really come off of that because it's really not near as much max stats as you would think.
Nice, man. Is that all you have to say about the never-ending
war? It is. Like I said, Grizz makes a great point here. It is a very cheap build. Doesn't take a lot. Pretty easy sets to get. The endurance ice staff cracks me up. I think it was like. I paid 700 gold for this ice staff, and it was a purple sharpened ice staff's what I do. It is hilarious. But that 2-piece endurance, man, that's an extra 1,900 health. That's what you're trying to get.
Pretty juicy.
Just get all the health. Yeah. Really, all you're doing is just only heavy attacking. You're just trying to keep your sustain up because you don't get it from many other places. Jewelry traits, all healthy. You already know it. But yeah,
Garen's asking if you've considered using Death Dealer instead of Oaken Soul. I can answer for you. No, he hasn't.
I personally have not considered that, but yeah, that's definitely an option. I would say that this setup, you could absolutely take this, make it your own pretty easily. You could definitely throw that on there. I'm an Oaken Soul guy. I like the simplicity of the Oaken Soul. Just kind of stay focused, but. The Oaken Soul works really nice on it just because that ult gen is very, very nice because you're, like I said, it's
a great candidate. It's a very good candidate for a 1-bar build, I think.
Yeah. When you're in that Goliath form, that's when you're really doing the best for your team. It's already very hard to take down when you're not in the Goliath form. When you're in that Goliath form, you can just take a beating. I mean, just a complete and total beating.
We're pro Oaken Soul around here. Okay, we like the 1-bar build. Well, the build that I want to talk about today is the old main, old Betsy, with stamina Templar. She's an orc. Her build is the same that's been for a while gear-wise. It's Deadly Strikes. It's a double-bar set. Wretched Vitality on the back bar with the bow. Black Rose dual wield on the front bar. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and one-piece Magma Incarnate. So what's funny is I actually haven't been playing with Betsy all that much. I've been playing with my other orc Templar, Butch Mahoney, which I talked about on the last episode, and he's doing great. Mm-hmm. But I've sort of learned some lessons from playing with Butch. One big difference between Butch and Betsy is Butch is not a vampire. And as a result, comparatively, he has really, really good sustain, and it just feels so good to play on that build. And I find myself when I'm in the mood for some Templar action, I'm going for Butch.
Oh boy.
And why am I not going for Betsy? Like
we can't have
what's going on here? Yeah. So it really made me kind of re-examine things. I got really excited for the new Mist form when they did that. Plus that Vampire Stage 3 passive is very, very good. So a while back I made the decision I'm just going to go ahead and take that sustain hit and be a vampire with Betsy. Mm-hmm. And that's been the case for several months now, and it's been going great. But I went ahead and cured it. I was like, let's just see. Let's cure vampirism. I got rid of Mist form. I'm just using Radiant Aura in its place right now, which is that ability that gives you all 3 minor sustain buffs. It's actually a really good ability. But I was like, let's just try this out, see how it goes. And it's just like right away, man. It's like a weight has been lifted. I'm just like free, like the shackles have been thrown off. It's like, oh man,
everything's perfect again.
I didn't even realize, like that weight was even there. But now that it's gone, it's just like, man, I feel so free and like I can do anything. And it dawned on me while I was playing with Butch, like I'm not dying any more often than I die with Betsy. Survivability is about the same. So I don't think that stage 3 vampirism is really all that important for me and my play style.
Yeah. That's the key part I was going to call out, is that I feel like we really have to like. And obviously, everybody's playstyle is different, but you are very talented at a roly poly stay alive build. You have a and there's other players that are very good at that, but I would say you are very good at like the willpower of, if you're in a bad situation, you have very strong willpower. You will not chase. You will get out of the situation, stay alive. Not all of us have that ability. You are very good at like, all right, this is a bad situation. Need to reset the approach. So I would say absolutely.
What's funny is that really depends on the character. Like if I'm on my Sork or something, that's not true at all. But like Betsy, I really do get into that mode. Like, let's just play smart here.
Yep. Yep. And I would say that's a great point though, is that when you're in that mode and you're playing that very smart, strategic positioning, that vampire is not really giving you a whole lot, because it's just hurting your sustain more than it's helping you, because you're not putting yourself in situations where the undeath passive is giving you a whole lot.
Yeah, and plus I also try to play Betsy in a very supportive kind of way. She's doing this 50-50 thing where like 1 minute she's killing someone, or 1 second she's killing someone, the next second she's healing someone, and there really is never a moment when she's not spending resources on something. She really can't like chill and recover resources all that often. So it's just more beneficial to have better sustain, and I feel like I have so much more kind of options for like build investments and sustain investments, and there's already like all kinds of juices flowing in my mind on how to continue tweaking her, after we're done with this recording today. It was just the right move. I had a good time with the vampirism. I definitely see the value, very much see the value. And I have other tunes that are vampires still, and they're probably going to stay vampires. But for Betsy, this was the right move. That Radiant Aura ability that I mentioned, it's an awesome ability. It gives you all 3 minor recovery buffs while slotted. Like Grizzly mentioned in the chat, with this next update, that it's getting the old on both bars treatment. So it's going to give me those buffs on both bars at all times while slotted. Plus, I can cast it to give those buffs to all of my allies within 24 meters, a huge radius, and it's free to cast, and it lasts a minute. It's a minute long buff.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It's an amazing ability. So, not only do I have better sustain from not being a vampire, I also have these 3 minor recovery buffs that I didn't have before either, because now I could take Mistform off and use that. So it's just like the sustain is never ending, dude. I feel like I can fly. It's pretty awesome.
Listen, we all love Butch, but all is right in the world when old Betsy is your go-to Templar. There's balance in the world.
Betsy's back to number 1.
Nice.
No problem.
All right. Love to hear it.
And I have some more, like I said, I have some more ideas cooking to, like, I think on the next episode, I'll have some more stuff to report.
That's exciting.
But a couple of things to compensate for losing that undeath passive, because I definitely can tell that it's missing. But I've been using the Javelin as my main stun for a long time. I've switched to Toppling Charge because it does give that major protection. So that helps out quite a bit. Plus, it actually fits the playstyle really nicely, because Betsy's very dodgy, roly-poly, and it's nice to kind of zip in and,
zip
to
in,
a target,
zip out,
it kind of really works for that hit and run kind of thing that she does. So, plus the major protection, really nice. And then I went ahead and cranked that health. She was sitting around 29k health, which I know is low, but for me, that actually felt pretty comfortable. I cranked it up to 35k, and that's without a warden in the group. And that's a very comfortable amount of health.
Yeah, game changer.
So I think between Toppling Charge and having that much health, I really feel like just as survivable as I did with the vampirism. Plus, I have, endless sustain now.
Yeah, that's
so
what I was about to ask.
Better
that with switching to Toppling Charge, did it mess you up at all, throwing trading out a stamina ability for a mag? But you just said your sustain's so good, you probably haven't even noticed the difference at all.
Yeah, no, I have a much easier time with Magicka sustain than I did before. Yeah,
nice.
for both resources, really.
Very nice.
So it's really no problem, and I have plans to make my Magicka sustain even better without really sacrificing stamina sustain. Like I said, next episode we're getting it's seriously like 10 minutes before we started recording, before you got into Discord.
You're already planning.
I was logged into the game, actually like actively making changes to Betsy's build. Like, I think I know what some changes I'm going to make are going to be. But then we had to record this thing. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll talk about that next time.
That's exciting. Love to see old Betsy top of the list. That's the rightful place.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's the same build that she's been for a while. She's still using those AoE pulses with Solar Barrage, Deadly Cloak, and Crescent Sweep Ultimate. She just doesn't have Blood Mist anymore, but that's a pretty minor loss, honestly. It's not a big deal. Still using jabs, of course. She has that same defensive kit with Extended Ritual, Honor the Dead, Resolving Vigor, the Rune armor buff that also heals you, and the Barrier Ultimate. You know, all the other stuff about her, it's well fitted, it's bloodthirsty, you know, it's light and medium armor, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, she's just not a vampire anymore. She's using that toppling charge, and she has a lot more health, and she has that radiant aura. That's basically what has changed.
And for
now.
Yeah. And for any semi-new listeners out there, old Betsy, she's an old school Templar. No beam, no bubble. She ain't about that. She's old school Templar. Jabs, in your face. She's the real deal.
Yeah. A lot of people tell me that I should get rid of the cleanse and slot the bubble instead. Shout out to Gary and in the chat. I think that's how he feels about it. But I feel like I like that cleanse. And I feel like my survivability is pretty good without the bubble. So, but both are great.
If you threw the bubble on old Betsy, I'm not sure you'd ever die again. I don't think you just may never die.
Possibly. I mean, she's already pretty slippery. So.
Yes, she is extremely, extremely slippery.
Last thing I'll say about Betsy, since she isn't a vampire anymore, the fashion situation that I had for her just wasn't working now. So I had to update her fashion. I don't really know how to explain it here on the show, but you know, I can kind of explain her personality. You know, before vampirism, Betsy was very much like all business, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
When she became a vampire, she's a creature of the night, you know, so she's a little bit more fun-loving. She kind of had a bad streak, you know.
Yeah, she hit a phase.
Yeah, and her look reflected that, I would say. Now that she's no longer a vampire, she still remembers that experience, and it has stayed with her. And she's back to her nice, kind of down to business old self, but she learned to loosen up a little bit. She kind of had a how still I got her groove back kind of situation through all of that. So, you know, she's back to the old Betsy, but she's a little more loosened up than she used to be.
That's such an important part. I mean, I'll even say that with the Never Ending Nord and that new build setup and him working now, I had to go and you know, tweak his fashion setup a little bit too. I had to make it make a little bit more sense. That's a key piece to the build.
Anytime I upgrade a build significantly, like, oh, this build is like next level now, I got to go to the fashion table and update the fashion too.
The fashion has to match it. The fashion has to match it.
It's like this fashion is subpar now. It will no longer do. Okay. We have a bunch of emails. What we got? 4 different emails. One is left over from the last episode. I had to save one. I had to save one from the last episode because it was getting too long.
Awesome. We love emails. All the emails. We love it.
scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. That is our email address. Send us any suggestions for the show or questions, or just tell us a story, tell us a joke. It could be ESO related or not.
Sorry, I just totally interrupt. You had a good spiel there. It was a good rhythm. But I started thinking, you know, I had a little nostalgia there. What was our old school? It was a best part of a sandwich. Was that what it was? Topping? I can't remember what we used to ask back in the...
Yeah, what's your favorite things to put on a sandwich?
There we go.
You know,
yep.
we really do love food related questions.
We're very food
strongly encourage. Ask us about food, please.
Please.
Every episode, Davius is going to pick his favorite email of the bunch, and we're going to send that person a bunch of gold. I usually have decided ahead of time how much gold it's going to be, but this time I didn't do it. Let's just say 500K. Let's go big this time.
Oh boy.
500K.
Got a little sweat on my brow now. Okay, here we go.
To whoever Davius chooses when we're done. First email comes from Jamo. He says, "Good day, mates, from the land down under." I think that's Austria.
It's definitely Austria. Strong intro to the email, by the way. Strong intro. He says, he or she says, "I really enjoy listening to your pod, mostly for any PvP suggestions and builds, since I play mostly that side of the game on Xbox NA.
I'd like to hear some of your fond and or funny memories or stories that happened to you both over the years in PvP. For example, the first time you won a 1vx or ganked the Emperor or trolled enemy players, etc. I came up with a little list here that I think most of these, Davies, you and I experienced together. So we can kind of take a little walk down memory lane here.
Love it.
So when I had to spare and you were on your Stam Sork, who I think was named Beartooth at the time.
Beartooth. Yes, this is correct.
In the Imperial City sewers, taking on this blue Zerg. Man, oh man, probably the highest high I have ever had in this game.
I don't know if we've ever felt that good at the game. Truly.
Been chasing that dragon ever since.
And this moment is why we continue to play day to day.
Man. Oh. And we've told the story before, but there was this big blue Zerg that was pretty close to their home base, and we made it all the way to their home base and fought them for a good long time. They killed us. We ran all the way back to their base. They killed us again. We ran back. They killed us again. But each time we were getting closer to wiping them out.
Like they weren't just taking us out quickly. I mean, we were killing multiple of them. It was a close fight, and they would just finish us off.
Just barely. They would overwhelm us. And we were like, I know we can wipe this group.
We can do it
ourselves and just be standing over their bodies victoriously. Like, we just got to keep at it. And so we did. We ran back and we finally wiped them. And it was just like this most amazing feeling. After, I mean, I don't know how long we were just bashing our heads against that group. And some other people from their faction were like doing sit chairs around and just watching, you know.
there's a place right outside, kind of near the door of DC in the sewers. And there was like 3 or 4 players kind of up on this wooden platform, and they were in sit chair and they were watching us fight this whole Zerg. And that last time that we finally took him out, and I mean, we were greatly outnumbered. I would say that, greatly outnumbered. And finally when we beat them, we didn't even notice them up there, and we kind of turned around and saw them. They were kind of low level. And then they all just started kind of throwing us whispers saying like they've been watching the fight. They watched us. They were shooting all these praises at us. They were doing
like applaud emotes and stuff.
I mean, it was already a great moment. Then we turn around and there's like their own DC players that were cheering us on. It was a glorious moment. Glorious moment. So much fun.
So great. Another one happened, I don't know, quite a while before that, but another very memorable time is we were playing a bunch of duos, and there was a certain player that was whispering Davies and asking him about his build, and then he was telling Davies that his healer build was no good.
Yep.
And telling him like, here's what your healer build needs to be, you know, and yada, yada, yada. And Davies is like, nah, I like my build, you know, mind your business. And the dude just kind of, he never let it go really.
Nope.
And then the very next deathmatch, this is back when you could queue for deathmatch, we got into a 2v2, me and Davies versus this dude and his buddy. We were on that Eld Angvar map, and we were on this far corner where no one could see us, so we got to just duke it out, you know, as long as we wanted to. And it was a good long fight. I mean, we really went at it for a good long time, and we won.
We were the victors. We did it.
We were the victors. And that dude whispered Davies right afterwards, was like, my bad, dude, your build's good.
It was glorious. Completely, I mean, huge of that guy, completely caved, said, you know, because he had all these reasons why the build wasn't good, didn't work, all this. Changed his entire tune, said like, holy crap, like that, the heals on that build are ridiculous. Like, you guys, we couldn't take you down. Heals were great. That player's still on my friends list today. Like,
that was years ago.
Yes, years ago. That player still on my friends list today. Still randomly we'll talk and whisper with that player. It was just so cool because it was such a you know, like when you get hate whispered or people are, you know, kind of starting track, and I wouldn't even go as far as hate whisper, but like really kind of hating on the build. Like, it was not, you know, it was like, this is the problem, this is what you're doing wrong, you know, all of this is bad, this is this. And then just to see the full switch and win him over
Let's
And
just
then
see how bad the build is, buddy. And then he's just singing a total different tune afterwards.
Yeah, and then it was really cool of him too to like completely switch and come, and fall on the sword.
Totally.
Really, really, that will always stand out as a really, really cool moment of and that was back in the day. That was a good old wacky Davius build back in the day.
I believe that was the old Guarplar.
That was the original. The original
Cold Harbor's favorite.
The Guarplar healer build. That was a good one. I've joked that I always, at least once a month, think about bringing back the Guarplar.
Well, that's why your build to this day is a pure, it does not do damage, because you had to in order for that to be a pure healing set.
Yes. That set, either when you deal damage, it does damage, or if you heal, it heals. And so that was originally why my Davius Templar healer build only heals, because I was tricking the set to only give me the healing Guar. I didn't want to do damage, so I could only get the heals from it.
All these years later, you haven't used that set in ages, but still only heals.
It is the heart of the Guarplar still lives on.
That's funny. Another awesome times in PvP is the old sit chair nights. We haven't done it in a while, but that used to be the nightly.
Yeah,
pretty much the nightly routine.
That was the old school.
More Imperial City sewer action where we would just run to an enemy front door and just do sit chairs and
have to touch the door to inflict ultimate shame upon the faction.
Indeed, got to show the proper disrespect.
Yep.
And then we would just sit in chairs and wait for people to show up and try not to fight. The whole point was to not fight because we wanted to let enough people sort of pile up so that we could get into an outnumbered fight, and have like a 4v10 or something like that. Usually, we'd usually wipe them several times, but eventually get overwhelmed and they'd get us and we'd lose, a crap ton of Telvar and laugh about it. And super fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Losing the Telvar is part of the fun. I'm sorry. It
really is. It really is. It gives a weight to it for sure.
Yeah. Makes you really try to win that fight,
When the fights break out, you are really trying to survive. You don't want to lose the Telvar.
I want my 10k Telvar. Those nights were fun. Sadly, not really even possible anymore. The last several times we've tried, just no one comes out of those. Like the sewers are dead.
Yeah.
No, everyone goes up top. If you go up top, it's busy. Lots of people are in Imperial City. They're just not in the sewers. Yeah. Which is a shame, man. The sewers are the best part. Honestly.
They really are. If
there was just PvP down there.
Yeah. I actually, speaking of the sewers, I was thinking of, we're talking about good memories here. I don't know if you remember this one, but one of our really great fights down in the sewers is to me and you specifically. I know people are very hit or miss about them, but the streamer that always stands out to us that that we always have been a fan of. He's good for the game. Fang Rush. But we had a great fight down in the sewers with Fang Rush. He had a stream going. And I think we had a small group going, and we ran in and we actually had a great fight, and we actually took out the majority of his team. I think it was just down to him. He ended up finishing us off, or a couple of them came, and we ended up losing the fight, but it was still a good fight. But it was a good long fight in the sewers, and it was just like you just said. It's so fun to fight down there because it's such close quarters, and you really can use line of sight, and you're kind of going around angles, you're making circles. But that was another great moment of just fighting kind of that Fang Rush group that was down in the sewers and utilizing the terrain and line of sight. That was another great just fight down in the sewers.
That was an intense one. The old bridge fights in Cyrodiil that aren't possible anymore because the bridges fall apart now. Those were super fun. Some of the most epic battles you've ever seen, just bigger than life.
They really aren't impossible anymore, but I'm talking, we would go in Cyrodiil and we'd go straight to the same bridge, and we'd be
straight to the bridge.
It'd be a 2-hour fight. You'd be a 2-hour just all-out war. I'm talking siege, fights, people dying, tents.
Massive siege warfare, hundreds of people there, and it's such a big thing. At that time, it was just a thing everyone knew. Okay, there's fights happening at the bridge. Just
that's where you go.
Bridge.
Head to the bridge.
And it was like this sprawling thing where you'd have like these small, like little 4v5 skirmishes over here, and little 1v1s and gankers running around, and just like this massive like hub of PvP activity It was awesome. Even if you're not really at the bridge itself, if you're just kind of in the vicinity, there's people there and there's like stuff
Yep.
going on. It was so exciting. I miss that. I
Yeah,
miss the
and
bridge fights.
that was in the olden days too, where the animation there was no limit to animations. It was all animations, and so you just as you're running to that bridge, I mean, just a spectacle of just everything going on. I
You're
mean,
seeing every particle effect, friendly
it
or
was
otherwise.
insane to watch. That was a really cool, really nostalgic moment. The old bridge fights for sure.
Just recently, the not the last White Strikes Mayhem event, but the one before that. Shout out to Jorl. He basically theory crafted a little kind of miniature ball group for us. There was like 10 to 12 of us or so, and he kind of just told us each what sets to wear. And we went into Imperial City and just wrecked, dude. I mean, I'm
We
talking
did.
like Zergs of like 50 or so people. We were like blowing them up.
That was
First
that
time I
was
ever did
fun.
something like that. Super fun.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of Telvar, but it was fun. We were just a little miniature wrecking crew.
Yeah, we were. First time I saw my name on the deathmatch leaderboard. It's been a long time ago now, but that was significant for me. We know now it's really not a big deal to be on the leaderboard, but I don't know. That was the first time that I saw that. And I was like, hey, you know what? I think I'm getting okay at this PvP thing.
This PvP thing might work out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So much fun to see that first moment you see on there. I think I even still have my very first gold reward I got. I think I kept it in my bank. I don't remember what it is. It's something terrible, but I think I kept it just as nostalgic purposes.
This isn't really, you brought this up last night, Davis. This isn't really a PvP thing, but it happened in a PvP zone.
Oh, we'll never forget.
There was this one time I was going to hook you up with a bunch of Hacky Joes because I had a bunch of Telvar.
We've really got to specify, not a bunch of Hacky Joes. It was
7 Hacky Joes.
7 Hacky Joes. I mean, enough I was doing prismatic glyphs on an entire build. All 7
full build.
7 Hacky Joes.
And I was just sitting really pretty on Telvar, and I was just kind of being a bro. I was like, you know what, buddy? I'm hooking you up.
I got you covered.
So I went and got the Hacky Joes, and I ran back to Davius and opened up a trade window and gave them to him, closed the trade window. And then Davius says to me, all right, man, I'm ready for the Hacky Joes.
I'm ready for them. I'm ready to get those things.
I'm like, I just gave them to you. You're like, no, you didn't. And what happened was I actually had opened a trade window with the player standing right next to Davius. Rose something.
Rose was in the name.
Listening.
Still out there. Rose still haunts us to this day. Rose something in the name.
We can't remember, but we know Rose was part of the name.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I whispered them. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was trying to give those to my friend here. Can I please have them back? This person says, LOL, sure, no problem.
Absolutely.
And then immediately their character disappears and I am blocked and I can no longer
forever blocked. I think that's the part that's always stuck with us is the very kind return whisper of LOL, no problem. Absolutely. Like to go to that level and then to disappear without returning the Hacky Joes was just, it was a next level of trolling. Oh man.
It was such a roller coaster because once I realized that I gave the Hacky Joes to the wrong person, my heart sunk.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, LOL, no problem. My heart raised back up, and like, it's okay. This is a reasonable person. It's going to be okay. And then they disappear back down again.
Oh man. Good.
So there you go. There's a bunch of memorable PvP stories for you there.
One I got to add in there, and obviously we won't go down this road, but just the old deathmatch queue, man. We've got to bring it up. The ability to just go all deathmatch. It was
really a very different vibe then.
Yeah,
it really was.
You don't really truly realize how much you miss it until you get like the rare night where you get 2 death matches in a row, and then it just hits you of just, man, this used to be every single match. Just I miss it. Miss that queue. That was the good stuff. It's the worst thing they've ever done to the PvP in this game, I think. I truly miss just the original queue. Like it was all group queue. There was no solo. All solo group was all in one. You picked the style you wanted to play. You could pick random too. You could do all of them above.
People did. I mean, there's a daily random, so people do the random.
You did the daily random, and we would do that. We'd do the daily random. We'd do some other ones, and we actually did the objectives in the daily random, and then we'd just go deathmatch, all deathmatch. Man, what a great
like you said. We don't need to go down that road again. We've been down.
Careful. We got to be careful when we bring it up, but that's definitely goes in the great year. Great memory of that old Q system.
Jimmo closes by saying, "Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Love the content." Thank you very much. Great email.
Yeah. Thank you for that email.
Garion's getting triggered. He wants the deathmatch back too.
We've lost Garion. We've lost him.
He's off the deep end, guys. He'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, he needs a moment.
Next email is from Yin and Yangin.
Yin and Yangin, of course.
It's a funny name.
Yin and Yangin. That's great. Great name.
Kind of a long-ish email here. He says, "Hey, Scrollin' Podcast, found you guys a few weeks ago and have really been enjoying listening while I'm at work. I was in a BG with Ket and got added to Students Goons, so thank you for that."
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, happy to have you.
Theory crafting is one of my favorite parts of the show. I've been playing ESO from before the time when D-Swing had a knockback. Those were the glory days, in my opinion. Nothing was better than knocking someone into the air and reverse slicing them before they hit the ground. Yeah, man, I do miss those days.
The hard hitting. I mean, there was just nothing that felt like it hit harder than that old school dizzy swing, and then just that old that execute on top of it just felt felt oppressive.
The ultimate combo was dizzy onslaught execute.
Yeah,
that was it. And just while you're in the air, you get that just shunk freaking onslaught.
It felt gratuitous. It was man. There was.
I remember a nasty Nightblade that was doing that exact combo, but out of stealth. So out of stealth, you're getting knocked up into the air.
That's terrifying.
Onslaught, execute, and just over.
That's terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, Yin and Yang continues to say, "Since then, the game has changed a lot, but still remains very fun, though build diversity has become more and more scarce. Hopefully this can get figured out in the future. But I've finally broken down and gone full meta. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I've been playing a Warden for a while, and it's by far my favorite class." Yeah, dude, Warden's awesome.
Yeah, Warden's great.
Yin and Yangin has a few rapid fire questions. He says, "How would you feel about an arena or mythic two-hander that knocks back? And just to be fair, there could be a Destro staff that also knocks back." I'd be totally cool with that. Looks like a arena two-hander that just makes Dizzy Swing have the old knockback again. I wouldn't be opposed at all.
I'm 100% would love that. I don't like the idea of a Destro staff having that. A range knockback has me a little bit worried. A little bit worried on the range.
Destro staff already has a 15-meter ranged knockback if you use a fire staff with a flame clench. So there is that. But yeah, like a full long-range knockback the way Flame Clench used to be with the full 28-meter range is probably a good thing that they took that away.
Probably
honestly.
Good that that's not in the game anymore.
So yeah, like a melee range knockback seems fair. He asks, any other skill-specific weapons that we don't have yet? I was looking at these. I think most weapon skills have an arena weapon associated with them at this point. Pretty much all of them. But I think they could buff the Maelstrom dual wield. That's the one that affects rapid strikes. It causes your single target dots to gain 1690 extra damage for 4 seconds after using rapid strikes. It does not apply to rapid strikes itself, which is what it would need to apply to for it to be worth using.
Easy change too, right? Like I don't feel like it would be very usable if it applied to rapid strikes. Maybe even take the number down. But if you could give that apply to rapid strikes, that's a great arena weapon.
Yeah. It either needs to apply to rapid strikes or they need to increase that duration to like 10 seconds or something like that for it to be worth it.
Gives you time to use it on a couple other abilities.
Yeah. Or just reimagine the thing completely.
Yeah. Just make it usable.
Yeah. I also think the Asylum Resto staff could use a rework. It kind of sounds good at first glance, but I don't think it's that great. 21% cost reduction to healing abilities for 3 seconds after you cast Blessing of Restoration, whichever morph.
Yeah.
The 21% cost reduction is a lot, but it's only 3 seconds at a time. You're not going to be casting Blessing of Restoration every 3 seconds, most likely. So I just feel like you're not actually going to be greatly benefiting from it a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like they could it wouldn't even really take much to just kind of rethink that. Maybe just retweak some numbers, some durations and stuff like that, and it could be pretty good. Did you have any ideas? Any other weapons
Yeah,
you'd like to see?
one that I've always that has kind of stood out to me. It's really not even that old. Is just the Vatashran dual wield. It basically it buffs the hidden blade ability. It's 250% more damage to targets under 100% health, but it only works if you're standing behind them.
Yeah, yeah.
I just would like to see that maybe reworked to make it a little bit more useful. I like the idea of buffing that hidden blade. It's not a very highly used ability, so I like the idea that it's like, all right, here's a weapon to encourage people to use it. But the way it's designed right now is there's just zero encouragement for people to use that. It just to always be standing behind and I don't know. I'd like to see maybe that a little bit more usable.
Yeah, and maybe if they could just make it to where you need to be flanking the enemy, so it could be behind or from the sides.
Even that I think would be usable, but only behind. It's just kind of it's always one that stood out to me because when you see 250% in any tooltip, you're like, holy cow, like what's going on here? But it doesn't really work.
Yeah, I need something that's reliable.
Yes, absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
So that's all we could really think of for those. Let's see, Yin and Yang, and goes on. He says, and for the potential of having class-specific weapons and armor, what are some dream sets you'd like to see come from that? Giving us a lot of homework here, man. I don't know if I don't really know. I thought of a couple ideas. I'd like to see some class classics. So like some class-specific arena weapons that gives you back old versions of skills that you miss. So like a great sword that gives Templars the old jabs back.
That's all you want. You want the old animation. You want the old 4 hits. You just want jabs back. That's all you want.
Give me my old jabs. Or like a sword and like a Dragon Knight sword and shield that gives you the old reflective wings back when it had a true reflect and it was OP and super strong.
That's a good.
Give us these class classics. That's what we would call them, class classics. That's my idea.
I actually got 2 of these. One, I don't even know what it would be, but everybody by now that listens for a while knows I love the Warden Bear skill. Give me a set that buffs that bear. I don't know. Make that bear on steroids. Just make that bear go cocaine bear level. Something to really crank the bear up would be fantastic. I would love that. I think that would be cool.
Bearoids.
Yeah, heck yeah. That I think that would be pretty cool. And another one,
I think Bearoids is probably the episode title.
Bearoids, absolutely. Get that bear up on its hind legs and just make it go nuts for a while. Something. I think that'd be neat. The other one I thought of, you all know me, a DK, Lord of Nords, he's definitely my main. Definitely leaping is my favorite. I don't know why this one even popped into my head, but to me, it would just be hilarious if there was a class set that somehow when you leap on somebody, you actually add an additional. No way would this work, but I just think it would be so hilarious because the leap is just such a oppressive skill. So if you leaped on an enemy, your character, the next animation would you actually grab your enemy and then you just hurl them off into the distance. I just think that would be the most DK thing ever, is to just leap from so far away. You leap on the enemy, and then as soon as you leap on them, your character just grabs them and just hurls them off into a distance. I think that would be the most DK thing ever. Do I expect that at all? No, but gosh, that would just be hilarious. That would be fantastic.
The old onslaught that you got refunded the ultimate if you got the kill, but do that for leap. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Just leapfrogging people. That would be a lot of fun. That would be fantastic.
And then Yin and Yang says, the last thing I'm going to throw out there, a no weapon build, just fists, heavy and light attacking. Is it possible? How can it be done? Nothing would be cooler than seeing someone run into the middle of a fight just winding up a haymaker. So shout out to KDMS. He did it.
He's done it. He made it work.
Just for laughs, he queued up for a BG and had no weapons equipped. Although I don't think he was just I think he was casting abilities.
Yeah,
Not exactly what you're saying here. But he did surprisingly well. I
Yeah.
think he had like double-digit kills and no deaths, and
Yeah. I
I
think
mean, KDMS is a superhero.
yes, that's what I
So
was about to say. I think the trick to making it work is be just an incredibly, incredibly good player.
yeah, that's the trick. That's the key.
That's how you make this work. Just be incredibly, incredibly good at PvP and BGs.
Yeah. Um, I mean, there really is not a viable way to do it
No.
and actually compete in any way unless you're someone like KDMS. But that does remind me that I would love an unarmed skill line. That would be so cool.
Absolutely.
Just give me like some active abilities and some passives that I can only use if I don't have any weapons equipped, and they should be powerful enough to compensate for the fact that I don't have a weapon equipped. And I feel like that's an easy home run that they could add to the game. They don't have to create any new like art assets or anything for that. That would be really cool.
hmm Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That would be, and I think that's a pretty big community wide thing. I think a lot of the communities has said for a while now that how excited they would be potentially with that.
Yeah, and that would kind of fill the power fantasy of playing as a monk, but you don't have to
Yeah.
make a new
They
class.
could even, I mean, you really, we could go deep in this for a while, but you really could. You could, the Sijic skill line. There's a whole, almost an entire story dedicated to that quest line,
Yeah.
story, world. You could recreate all that for just a monk based storyline, create some island where a bunch of monks live, unlock the specific skill line that it's, unlocks unarmed. You could add story into it. You could add lore. You could add, there's a whole bunch of stuff you
Yeah.
could do with it and make it make sense and really add it into the game. And it seems like it'd be a pretty easy slam dunk.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that gets added at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Yin and Yang closes by saying, "Thanks for keeping the ESO PvP community entertained, especially while we work." You're
Nice.
welcome. Thanks for the email.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the email.
Next email comes from the Golden Elf. They say, "Hey guys, I just discovered your podcast a week ago and I'm loving it. I'm very much a noob when it comes to PvP, but I'm always interested in learning about people's builds. I'm also a member of the Elder Scrolls lore community where I go by Talon Sero.
Yeah. Very cool.
Also, I'm trying to put together a Blood Mage build where health is my main resource while also being a DPS. Davius, listen up.
Oop, there we go. Here we go.
It's a Vampire Nightblade that combines Mark Target, Simmering Frenzy, and Oakensoul. Still a work in progress, but pretty fun solo PvE content. I also use a Resto Staff plus Heavy Armor and Soul Tether when needed. Any advice for this build would be greatly appreciated since I don't really know armor sets all too well." He does a little shrug emoji.
Nice.
Davis, I know you've dabbled around. I mean, you just talked about your Necromancer.
Yep.
That's kind of a health-based build, and you've even messed with it for a Nightblade before, I think, didn't you?
Yep.
Or no?
I've dabbled in this. I would just say that one, I looked at all sets and just did a control F on health. Like
Health.
yeah, max health, and just figure out all the sets that are going to factor in max health. That kind of helps you limit it to see which way you want to go. But especially with an Oakensoul build, and we've said this in past episodes, but the key to make an Oakensoul build work is that you really kind of have to go into tunnel vision. Like you can't have it all with an Oakensoul build. You kind of really need to figure out, all right, what is it that you're bringing to the table and go all in. And so if you want to do this health-based build on an Oakensoul, you almost need all your sets to factor into max health, and then just plug as many abilities as you can on that bar. They're going to factor in max health. Whatever you decide to go with, really kind of focus of how can you be, stick to this theme, but still bring something to the team and still be a good team player and make sure you're still bringing value.
Gary in the chat suggests using the Vampire Spammable and the Lady Thorn monster set. Definitely good options for a health-based build.
That Vampire Spammable that costs health is a very high hitting ability. If you can use that, it hits very strong. Plus, if you're a health-based build, you can kind of afford to be lower health, which makes it hit even stronger. So
thanks for the email, Golden Elf. And last email comes from Grizzly Khan. Shout out to Grizzly Khan. He's
shout
in the chat
out Grizzly
right now.
Khan.
GrizzlyCon asks, I've been thinking about 2 through 4 piece set bonuses lately. When looking at 2 through 4 piece bonuses, what do y'all prefer to see? What bonuses are ones that you avoid if you have the option? Are there any sets that have stellar 2 through 4 piece bonuses but mediocre 5 piece, or have incredible 5 pieces but the 2 through 4s make you not want to use it? So we're talking about 2 through 4 piece bonuses here. Few examples that come to mind for me right away are the Stygian set. That's one it's a pretty mediocre 5-piece bonus, but the 2 through 4 is all weapon and spell damage, and that makes it worth using.
Yep.
Witch Knight's Defiance is the same thing. It's all weapon and spell damage. And that 5-piece, it's okay, but it's not amazing. But because of those 2 through 4s, it's actually a pretty good set. Stoon's Favor is another one. Excellent. Some people just use like the 4-piece of Stoon's Favor and don't even use the 5-piece. Bad bonuses. Bonuses that don't offer a ton of value. Anything that's max stats, like a max stamina or max magicka, those have pretty low value in the PvP meta these days. Most people are not looking for max stats. Max health is okay, but max stamina and max health or max magicka, not very valuable. Health recovery also not very valuable.
Health
because
recovery
it gets cut in half. Good bonuses, really any offensive bonus, especially penetration. That's pretty highly valued, but really, crit, weapon damage, anything offensive is pretty good. A line of resistance, that's pretty unique. You don't see that very often in a 2 through 4, so that's usually pretty highly valued as well.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right build, a healing done bonus can be pretty good. Not every build, obviously, but some builds it's pretty good.
Yeah, healing done, or even the healing taken can sometimes be pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say the big thing for me that I really try to avoid is multiple lines of recovery. Like I don't mind a one line of recovery, but if it's a whole bunch of recovery on there, or if it's like the different style, if it's magicka, one line recovery, and then the next line stamina recovery, that just seems like a real, I don't know, loss to me. It's like, ooh, you're sacrificing a lot with that taking up 2 lines on a set.
Yeah, it depends on the set or what I'm trying to use it for. I mean, if it's for an offensive set, certainly that's kind of hard to deal with. So yeah, there you go. It really does make a difference though, like whether a set is actually good or not. I can't really think of a really strong 5-piece, but the 2 through 4s bring it down. I mean, some people might feel that way about the Phoenix Moth Thayer set. That it's a medium armor set that's got a support based 5-piece bonus. It gives I think it's minor courage and minor force. But then the first 2, like 2 and 3-piece bonuses are stamina recovery, which seems kind of counter to that supportive 5-piece bonus. So for some people looking to use that set, that might not be very attractive for that. I actually really like it. But anyway, there you go. Davis, what's your favorite email of those?
That's tough.
That's a toughie.
That's a toughie. I will say, I'll, on Jamo, the intro just huge. But once again, hate to say it, they did say they were on Xbox, so
not even an option.
Makes it a little tricky. And so I did really like, Jamo's email. Intro is great. I loved the nostalgia. Just, kind of remembered some of the old stories that we had.
Yeah. Totally.
Fantastic. But I think I'm going to go yin and yang. Some good questions in there. Really got us thinking. Really had to think of some stuff there. So great email with just kind of multiple questions and kind of just looking into stuff.
Okay, I wrote it down, yin and yang, and you'll get $500K coming your way on the next time I log into ESO.
Nice.
Garion says, an orc walks into a bar in Cyrodiil with an ugly, one-eyed, mangled parrot on his shoulder. The barkeeper looks up, jumps back, and proclaims, by the 9 divines, what an ugly thing. Where did you get it? The parrot responded, Orsinium, they're all over the effing place.
Nice.
That's funny. That's funny stuff. Thanks, Gary. Scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's the email address. We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoon's Goons. It is literally the best PvP guild in the game. Not even kidding. Just take a look at our Discord server right now. There's like
Do
100
it.
people in here.
Look.
It's amazing. It's I mean, I'm telling you, the guild is popping off. It's a very positive, awesome PvP guild to be a part of. We're very welcoming to everyone. So I'm not even doing our plug right. It's literally the best PvP guild in the game that also happens to be the best named guild on the PCNA server. I'm just getting so overwhelmed with how awesome the guild. I'm like speaking from the heart rather than doing my script here. Really has been awesome.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been great.
It's the official guild of the Scrollin' Podcast. We're on Xbox NA now, not just PC NA, but also Xbox NA. So if you're on either of those servers, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send you an invite. If your guild roster is full or if you're on a different platform, that's okay. Then just come join the Discord. Anyone who's on the Discord is a fully fledged goon. In-game membership is not required. If you're able to come along on our activities that we do, you're welcome to come along. You know, everyone's included. So scrollinpodcast@gmail.com to join the guild or the Discord or both. If you'd like to support the show, one easy thing you can do is go to the Apple Podcast app and give us a star review or a star rating, and especially a written review. Helps us out a lot. If you'd like to go a step further than that, you can go to patreon.com/scrollinpodcast and sign up to receive Stoon's Boon for $3 a month. It gives you access to a number of things, some extra Discord benefits. It also gives you access to the Booncast, which is a shorter solo podcast that I do in the off weeks. So you get a little taste of scrolling every week. If you can't do Patreon right now, then just come join the Discord. That doesn't cost anything. We have one of the best communities on the internet. Everyone is welcome. We'd love to have you. scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to the chat. Grizzly Khan, Garion. We had KDMS in here earlier. I think that was it. Thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate you very much. Also, shout out to Uncle Sam, King Nar, Solantris, Shrimpo, Nachu, Slavka, Exolion, Jorl, Samiverse, Blast My Ship, KDMS, Ricky Base. Want to buy my dog? Want to buy my dog? Jack, Red Charm. I'm sure there's others. We've had a pretty large kind of regular group lately. Like I'm telling you, like every single night the voice chat has like 10 or more people in it, and people just hanging out. Either some people are in groups together, so there's like, you know, full 4 squad over here, there's a duo over here, these people are doing some solos. It's just kind of people hanging out, talking, telling jokes, and some people aren't even playing ESO. You know, like Shrimpo, he was in voice chat just last night, and we're like, yo, Shrimpo, you want to join our group? We need a 4th. And he's like, yeah, let me log in real quick. Like he wasn't even playing the game, he was just hanging out, you know. So yeah, great to have you guys around. Great bunch of people. Shout out to the Elder Goons, the OGs, all those orange names. Thank you guys for being around for so long and being our friends. And shout out to our Stoon's Boon recipients, our Patreon supporters. Pork Body, Toadster, Gummy Bear, Grizzly Khan, Thomas, Taggart, Mother of Dragons, Sudica, Jim, Maxwell, and Derpin Stuff. And eventually that's going to be a pretty long list to get through. It's already starting to get there.
You have to take a drink before you read it off.
Yeah. And now for the Stoon's Boon shout out portion of the podcast. Hold on.
Let's get the list.
Thank you guys so very much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Davies, before we sign off?
I think that's everything.
Okay. Thank you guys very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Garen was asking me to come up with some Nord pickup lines, and the one just off the top of my head, all aboard the Nord. I mean,
all aboard the Nord, baby.
Try that one out; it'll work, guaranteed.
And then you just take it out. Seinfeld reference, people. Seinfeld reference.